Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Ghost Stories in Folklore. Tonight, my friends, is a tale of a haunting that takes place in a town which some call the sweetest place on earth, Hershey, Pennsylvania. This little town is well known for its famous chocolate bars and candies, and also for its amusement park, but some know very little about the horrors which take place in this small American town. This town, which was basically built for the workers of the Hershey chocolate factory by its founder Milton S. Hershey, not only is rich in sweetness, but also in many paranormal claims. Instead of featuring each location separately, we are grouping the entire town of Hershey together. Let's start out with saying that the spirit of Milton S. Hershey himself has been reported in many locations throughout the town, my friends. He has been reported at the Hershey Theater, the Hershey Hotel, and you guessed it, even the Hershey Amusement Park. Although Mr. Hershey built a beautiful home for himself and his wife on top of the hill overlooking the gardens, the factory, and the park, we have not been able to find any reports of him being seen in his former home. However, we will come back to the mansion towards the end of this video. Let us start out with the reports at the Hotel Hershey. At this 1930s hotel, as I mentioned, Mr. Hershey himself is said to linger in spirit. His apparition has been seen in various locations throughout the building. Doors have opened and closed by themselves. Footsteps have been heard in the wine cellar. And there have been many other unexplained sounds throughout the building. One can only imagine how many souls have crossed over the threshold of the building over the years, and how many have shared these strange and unusual occurrences. Next, let's move on to the reports that surround the Hershey Theater. Former employees and security guards have reported many interesting and disturbing occurrences that happened in the theater during the late night hours. They have heard the roar of a phantom audience as if a performance was going on, yet nobody else is ever in the building. They have also experienced strange light anomalies, footsteps, strange whispers, and one security guard even experienced a cardboard cutout being placed in the middle of the alleyway right after he just walked down to the stage and was returning back to the front of the building. Thinking that someone else was inside, he searched all over to find that there was nobody else there and the doors were still locked. Another security guard experienced what he explained to be the apparition of a woman laying on the floor crying in one of the rooms upstairs behind the stage. He turned on the light, and he saw very vividly she was pointing up to the corner of the other side of the room. When he turned, he saw the apparition of a man standing on a chair, and a security guard witnessed the unfortunate replay of the tragic ending of the man's life. He quickly left the area and vowed never to return there again. Furthermore, my friends, there are reports about the elevator that apparently has a mind of its own. Workers that were working down in the corridor of the basement witnessed the elevator going to different floors by itself, but nobody was ever getting an on and off. Later, they also reported seeing the apparition of a Native American standing at the end of the hallway. When they witnessed this, my friends, they all quit at the same time and even left their tools behind. Let us now move on to the Hershey Park itself, my friends. First opened in 1907, the Hershey Park in Deary Township, Pennsylvania, had plenty of time to accumulate its fair share of paranormal claims over the years. It was first created by Mr. Hershey as an outdoor recreation area for the employees at his factory, but today it is a much larger family theme park. One of the regular ghosts said to haunt the park is Mr. Hershey again himself. Though not many people have seen his ghost here, the phantom smell of his cigar smoke is said to indicate when Mr. Hershey is walking by. Now, one of the most haunted parts of the Hershey Park is the Carousel. Staff have experienced the Carousel's lights turn on by themselves, and the rides start to move and playing music, even though no one is operating it. According to one of the security guards, he noticed the ride lights were on during his rounds, so he turned them off. But when he walked away, they turned back on again. When he turned back around, he saw the figure of a person sitting at the controls. But when he approached the ride, the person vanished. No one knows the full story of the Carousel, as Hershey Park bought it second-hand in the 1940s, so the identity of the ghost operator is still unknown to this day. Another location in the park is the Lighthouse, near the front of the park. It is believed to be haunted by several children. A swimming pool used to be in this area until the early 1970s, and several children drowned while it was open. The spirits of those children have been seen still playing in their old-fashioned swimwear around the lighthouse, seemingly unaware of the removal of the pool. Another reported spirit is that of a 16-year-old William Harter, who haunts the Super Duper Looper roller coaster. Harter was killed in 1977 while working as a maintenance man during his summer break. He was doing some repairs on the track when the roller coaster suddenly started moving and ran him over. Since his death, many staff members working in the park after dark have seen the figure of a young man standing or walking along the rails of the roller coaster. The last report that we have at the park, my friends, is that of the Lady of the Boardwalk. She is known to be a spirit that haunts the shops across from the park's Keesing Tower. When the park began its expansion project in the 1970s, Hershey purchased several private properties nearby. One elderly woman did not want to sell her home, but after realizing she had no choice, she took her life in the attic. The area where her house once stood is now shops belonging to the park. Since they opened, employees of these shops have heard moaning and angry screaming coming from the upper floors. Now, what about that mansion that sits up on the hill? That was the former home of Mr. and Mrs. Hershey. Why have there not been any paranormal reports from this location? Yet Mr. Hershey has been reported in various other areas throughout the entire town. To answer this question, one needs to consider that after the death of Mrs. Hershey, Milton spent long periods of time traveling and away from the mansion. The home was given to the Hershey Country Club for the main clubhouse in 1930. He retained 2 rooms on the 2nd floor to serve as his apartment for when he was in the town of Hershey, until his death in 1945. In 1970, the country club moved to a new facility, and the mansion sat vacant until 1977, when it was taken over to serve as corporate offices for the Hershey Foods Corporation. In 1991, they relocated their new corporate offices just north of Hershey, and now the building is being occupied by the Hershey Trust Company. None of these organizations would probably ever want to report strange occurrences within the building, even though they would all probably welcome the presence of Mr. Hershey walking or roaming the halls, or maybe even sitting in on a few of their meetings. If you like this episode of Ghost Stories and Folklore, be sure to hit the like button. And if you would like more videos from Panady Videos in the future, make sure you hit the subscribe and the bell for notifications, if you dare. Ha 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 ha.